Alright, let's do a video. Let's drink some beer too. Yeah. Very refreshing. You know why Obama's going after credit card companies now, don't ya? No. Well, let me tell you. Because the interest rate paid on credit card purchases is about one of the only ways left for banks to turn some kind of profit. It's about the only way they're making any money these days. You know, after all these stress tests and being stomped on and twisted around and forced by the omen to loan money to people who are unable to pay it back, and forced to buy Merrill Lynch. According to Ken Lewis himself, said that Paulson and Bernanke strong-armed him into buying Merrill Lynch without telling the Bank of America shareholders, and then Lewis is the one who ends up getting in trouble for it when he says that they told him to do it and keep it secret. And it's funny how you haven't heard anything from him anymore, have you? Banks have been forced by the Democrats running the financial institution everywhere, from the Clinton administration with Janet Reno forcing banks to loan money to people who are unable to pay it back, and then having Barney Frank as the heroic champion of the governmental housing financing syndicate known as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and other alphabet soup agencies headed by such intrepid upholders of virtue as Jamie Dorlicker and Franklin Raines, Christopher Dodd. Banks were forced by these people to loan money to people who would not be able to pay it back, and thusly having those properties passed on to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who are slowly but surely and more boldly and swiftly now, as we venture onward through the year 2009 and the first term of the Barack Hussein Obama, the 44th Pharaoh, he who must be obeyed administration, into continuing a massive land grab. A few months ago I heard that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were holding 54%, something like that, of all the mortgages, residential mortgages in this country. Then the other day I heard 70% is what they now have. So it became fairly obvious to me what the true mission statement is of these massive organizations. It is not to provide low-cost mortgages and insurance for such. It is indeed to make life harder on banks so that the government ends up owning all the property, because also making life harder on the people so that they cannot afford to pay for their property. Thusly, all the property becomes the property of Uncle Sam and his favorite gay nephew pervert Barney, the Frank. See, they've managed to do this. They've accomplished this by convincing everybody over the past few years that the economy is in shambles. They're mainly the ones who are shambling it, because these banks have been forced to buy other banks and take on all of their debt, vis-a-vis the Bank of America Merrill Lynch deal. What further made life difficult on the banks was forcing them to accept this bailout money, and then actually means they are being forced by the government to loan that money, which that same government is using in order to buy them out. It's almost like if you took a shit and then somebody shoved the shit down your throat and poisoned you that way. Banks don't want all those foreclosed properties, whether they are residential or commercial properties. Banks want the money that is to be gained from the interest gained in the payments from the borrowers and qualified buyers of those properties that borrow borrowed the money from the banks, don't you see? The government, however, would love to have all that property, and the government would love to have that bank, because then they could redistribute the property to who they see fit for purposes which they see fit. Hence, they seek to make the banks uncomfortable as possible in hopes that the banks will give up sooner or later and let the government buy them out. Yea, beg them to buy them out. And please release me, let me go. And then the government will take all the foreclosed property and land in a power grab such as never has been seen before in this country. And we will own nothing and they will own it all. But of course they'll say it belongs to the people, even though, you know, you can't actually go anywhere. Everything will be fenced off, as it is now. Look at all the government property, it's all fenced off. You can't go there, it doesn't matter if it's nice, beautiful property. It's got a bunch of, if you are allowed in there, they got rangers and patrols and all kinds of people to make sure that, you know, you don't sit on the wrong twig or something, catch a frog. So the last place to turn is to let people have credit cards to throw around the plastic and pay big interest payments back to the bank. I mean, those are totally purchasing decisions made by the buyers and holders of the credit cards. They know what the interest payment's going to be. The Omen is making even those kind of contracts unhonorable and dishonorable and having no credibility. He is fostering a whole atmosphere where nothing written on paper and signed by anybody in agreement and as a commitment means anything to anybody, and this further decays the value of our money abroad and our word. I mean, just look at the man who tells you a dozen lies a day and you don't ever call him on it. Me, and never say, oh, he lied. He lies every day. Oh, but Bush tells you one lie about WMD and fucking burn that man in hell forever. Right? Right now, Obama does not want the future to look bright for you or the banks, because that might get you all excited about going and investing in bank stocks. You might want to invest and become a shareholder, and frankly, Obama don't want the competition. He wants to run around on TV every day saying how shitty everything is, and then when you're all crying, they'll say, oh, well, it's not that bad, and then you say, oh, really? And he goes, well, no, not really, it's pretty bad. And that way he keeps you confused. That way the bank prices, he doesn't want you to decide to buy stock in a bank because then the price of the bank stock might go up as investment in bank stocks might appear attractive. And then nobody would need the Omen to fix things for them. But the idea is to create a hopeless scenario for all parties concerned, don't you see? Banks, borrowers, investors. Make them all anxious and desperate and looking to the master of Washington for answers. And thusly, Obama circumvents his loyal, loving lackeys in Congress, even by making a declaration that anybody with $10,000 or more in credit card debt may now refinance their credit card debt and maybe not even have to pay it back at all. I guess there he's keeping his promise kind of to, you know, the girl that was just so elated and mesmerized and feeling a twitch up her leg and damn near orgasmic and on the verge of tears of joy when she exclaimed that she never thought this day would come, that I won't have to put gas in my car, I won't have to worry about my mortgage. Well, so far, man, you might not have to pay $10,000 or more on your credit card, that's for sure. So, do you see the pattern of redistribution of wealth beginning to rear its ugly head for you, or will I have to continue to explain this to you before it starts to catch on and you begin to see the forest for the trees? I bet you'll just remain in the dark, possibly because you think it's to your benefit.